Hi, watching CMS TV.
And what is up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Chris Akin Presents. It is me, Chris Akin, that dude right there. Right there. It's Erik Ferentinos. Erik, how are you, sir?
Oh, a little tired, but excited to be back for another Chris Akin Presents on this great Monday. Oh, it's not great, is it? It's 9/11.
Yeah, I know. I'm not even celebrating or mourning or whatever we're supposed to do today.
Nah, not doing that.
I'm just done with that. I'm sure Seth will want to do it when we do that show, so I'll do it then. Plus, I got a bunch of other stuff to talk about, but you have stuff way in front of my bullshit.
No.
Because you have been multi-country this week, right?
You! It was you! Yes, was it multi-country? Puerto Rico is a province of the United States of America.
Oh, is it? I don't even know. Does anybody consider that as like a state, like Hawaii, or
I think
people consider it that?
It's not a state; it's a province. I really don't know the exact reason things are the way they are there. It sounds like we just went over there and took it over at some point. I would imagine.
Somehow we get tax money out of them or something.
So it's to benefit us only. But no, you know, Puerto Rico kind of had the vibe like when I was on the cruise and we stopped in Haiti, and they just give you this little, give you a small area to check out that's safe for the most part.
Sure.
I didn't trip around all that much. We were very close to the water. My hotel room, you could see the ocean.
Right.
Between the buildings or what have you. I didn't even walk all the way down there. I know some of the guys did. Matt was saying that the ocean water was amazing. It's that really clear water,
85-degree water. That's just awesome. Yeah,
totally. And those guys had the foresight to bring trunks and stuff, because I didn't think to do that. We actually had two shows we did. We had the Virginia Blue Ridge Fest, which is a whole nother story we'll have to talk about.
Oh yeah.
And then we made our way to Puerto Rico. So I was kind of going backwards a little bit here. But yeah, just quickly about the beach. Super nice. He was saying that they have a lot of cops down there.
Okay.
At the beach. So I think that's to deter the homeless element, because I think, of course, there is a lot of poverty.
Sure.
In Puerto Rico. Everything seems much less expensive, too, around there, surprisingly. But everything was centrally located. There was the hotels right there. It was like the hotel circle.
Right.
And then the gig wasn't far. It was like a mile away. So I didn't really get to see too much, but I felt like we were in a kind of protected zone or something. Right.
Behind the big fence. There's a big fence like a mile away that you didn't see that kept all the riffraff out.
Now, unfortunately, a few of the guys, from what I'm hearing a lot of this stuff secondhand.
Sure.
But apparently some credit cards were compromised in the band, and I don't know where they went shopping or what was different. I didn't use my card in too many places, just like the hotel lobby, a restaurant. We went to a little restaurant, and then restaurants. But one was, and I went to Subway and Burger King, and that was it. So far I haven't seen any weird charges, but everybody else has a bunch of crazy charges and their cards were shut down. Now what makes it more unfortunate is those guys got stuck in New York, as far as I know. The whole Vegas crew. For those of you who have tuned in over the last few weeks, like some weeks back, Chris probably remembers, I got stuck in JFK, and it was I flipped the fuck out.
Right.
It was I was stuck there. It was like midnight, and I was trapped. The band made it on the flight, but because I was a San Diego guy that went separately, they maybe take like 3 flights to get out there, and so I of course missed it by a few minutes. And the plane was there, but they didn't wait, and I yelled and looked like a maniac and had to be kind of reprimanded for being a little bitch about it. It took a month to get my hotel room money back from Delta.
Right.
It was a whole rigmarole I won't put you through, but I even said some dumb stuff to Jason that I had to like apologize for
Right.
on the show. I was like, it'll be you taking 3 flights. I said something to him, but man, the karma, because these guys did not get to leave JFK. We were making our connecting flight from Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
4-hour flight. We're finding out while we're in the air that there's a problem with some of the tickets because we have different guys live in different places. Me, Matt, Thorne, and Scott Coogan were in California, so we were going to take a different flight from JFK. And then you got Jason, Johnny, Steven, and Steven's lady. We're going to Vegas. Okay. Well, for some weird reason, the Vegas flights were apparently canceled.
Oh, no.
And they wasn't going to be able to rebook them for 2 days.
Oh.
I don't know what this was about exactly or what the hell's going on, because I thought that would happen to us too, but our flights were intact. So these guys were about to feel what it's like to be stranded at JFK.
So do you think that this is because of the credit cards? Like the credit cards were compromised, so they canceled all the charges, including the flights?
No, those were already taken care of in advance, but it does suck to, I'm sure a few of them have other credit cards besides the one, but if you only had one credit card or something and it was shut down, that's suddenly a problem when you're stuck somewhere else.
Or if that's your money card, you're stuck in an airport and you can't go anywhere. That's
right. It could be bad, but they do have, between the 4 of them, I think they could resolve it. I'm sure Johnny and I think have similar financial situations where we could save the day if we needed to.
Steven could just walk around the airport till someone recognizes him and get a sandwich or something, right?
Yeah, they're going to start busking over by the food court.
Hey, buy me a sandwich. I'll sing you Way Cool Jr.
That's right. So not sure what the hell's going on with that, but they are going to be they have to end up ultimately going straight to this next gig that we're going to be playing in Salt Lake City. They're not even going to go home. You're not going home. So that's on
when? Friday? Thursday?
Thursday.
Okay.
Or Wednesday. Dude. I fly tomorrow. That's why we had to come in like a day early or something. I'm only home for 1 day today. And then tomorrow afternoon, I got to fly to Salt Lake, I believe. And then there's going to be another show in Arizona. So I got to consult the calendar to know for sure what's going on. But I do know that one of our guests for today will be at the next couple shows.
Yes.
And her name is
Miss Brit Lightning.
Go Brit Lightning, go Brit Lightning. Brit Lightning, go Brit Lightning. That's why I did the Grease Lightning.
Is that it? Nice.
Today. She better not let us down. If she doesn't show up today, we stop having guests altogether and you just do that separately. My heart can't take it, man.
Yeah, well, I'm going to imagine she's going to show up because she even emailed me on Friday just to make sure. She's going to come on an hour later than we had thought. So
go Brit Lightning, burning up the quarter mile. Brit Lightning, go Brit Lightning. Oh, Brit Lightning, you're coming on the Chris Akin Presents. Brit Lightning, go Brit. Is this a dream? Boom, boom, about to cream. Oh, Brit Lightning.
I don't know that you should be singing that you're going to cream for Brit Lightning.
I'm sorry. That was the only thing I could fucking come up with for that word.
How about She's a Queen?
Is this a dream? Grab the Vaseline. How's that?
No, you can't say that either.
Shit.
Can't say that one either. It's all true, but you can't say that.
Is this a dream? You want to ream? No?
Yes.
God damn it. What other things rhyme with that?
You're getting all the good ones for me.
I sang the song shitty the first time. I was trying to what am I going to do today? And I always think of the Grease Lightning when I hear her name. But so I go, okay, I'll do the Grease thing. And then I'm like, how does that fucking song go again? So like, as I was getting ready, I was had my phone in the bathroom, but I was kind of listening to it. It's a stupid fucking song.
It's terrible. This car is automatic, hydromatic. It's Grease Lightning.
Go, Brit Lightning, burning up the quarter mile. Brit Lightning, go, Brit Lightning.
Am I the only one that loved that movie in the day, but now can't even look at it? It's
Many
so
of these
bad.
films out there that way, yeah.
It's so bad.
Mm-hmm.
I think
we can add that to the list.
I think we all, and I was a little kid. That came out, what, 76 or something, 75, somewhere in there.
Mm-hmm.
So I was a little kid, but I knew even then that Sandy was hot. Back then, I probably wanted to be kissed by Sandy, but she was hot.
Let me ask you this. Did you feel a little uncomfortable when in that one scene where like he had gone on the date with her and then all the greaser guys were asking how the date went?
Oh, yeah.
Like, tell me more. Did you tickle the bean? Tell me more, or whatever.
Yeah.
I was like, creepy. Yeah. I was like, what?
Yeah, it was creepy. Dude, when you really break down that movie, it really is a date rape movie.
Yeah, very much so.
It's like, okay, here's this chick that nobody knows. I'm going to lie and say that I fucked her all fucking summer on the beach because nobody knows that I really did. Then she's going to come to our school, so I'm going to try to fuck her for real just so that my lies can equal the truth.
Hey, girl, I'm going to try to fuck you for real.
Is that not Grease? That is exactly what that movie is.
Right.
It's not
Back to the Future was that way too. The scene where Marty McFly's mom's in the car at the Enchanted Under the Sea dance, and then in and he's like they really went into it, like he's in the car and you can see Biff's hand. He's like, it's like, really, Steven Spielberg? You had to have him like doing fisties on this on McFly's mom.
Yeah, I think it was just the time though, wasn't it? At the time, it was
nothing but a good time,
dude. At the time, in that time, it really was not that crazy to think that you were gonna fucking do stuff that you couldn't do today to try and get laid.
If it weren't for date rape, I'd never get laid. Date rape. Don't tick it, don't tick it, don't tick it, don't.
Be honest. Be honest here.
No.
You did stuff. You in your high school years, you did stuff that absolutely you could not do today.
Oh my God. No, surprisingly, I was the most not getting laid dude in high school.
Really?
For sure. Oh yeah, no. I was that all picked up later. I was the guy who, barely by the end of high school lost his virginity. And then but maybe it saw like one girl or two. And then had a girlfriend for 5 years.
Right.
That was terrible and cheated on me. And she slept with everybody. But I was like monogamous, honestly. I really loved her a lot. And so that was the first big heart smash in life, that just decimates you.
I'll tell you one story that I really shouldn't tell.
Okay.
But I will tell it anyway. So I was probably a junior in high school. It was whenever I got my driver's license. And there was this one girl. She needed a ride home. She gets in my car. We start driving. She had huge tits for that time. Mm-hmm. She's my age, same age. But in the car, I just stopped the car and said, "Show me your tits or I'm not giving you a ride home." And I stopped like in the middle of the fucking road, like 5 miles from her house.
Tits, let's see them.
And I did. And she absolutely was like, "You're a fucking asshole." Whoop, showed me your tits. I took her home.
Yeah. About the same as she did it to you.
Yeah.
You're like, fine, here.
Here you go. Yeah.
Tits are tits. We all have tits.
I know, but back then that was like, as a 15 or 16-year-old kid, all you wanted was tits.
Right. Yeah, like all those movies pushed for that. All those like 70s, late 70s and 80s movies were all about the tits.
Yes.
And the P words.
Mostly the tits,
Porkies.
though. Really,
Right.
The Porkies, but almost always it was tits. It really wasn't even about getting laid as much as seeing tits.
Because they said, okay, you can show tits. And they go,
Yeah.
we're going to show some titties. We're going to show a lot of titties. Because if you're going to let us do it, we're going to do it. But they never showed anything else. It was just implied like, Revenge of the Nerds, like Booger. He's like through the bar. He's like, oh, we got Bush. Bush.
Well, but even think about the iconic stuff. Like obviously, Phoebe Cates' tits in Fast Times, probably the most iconic scene of the '80s movies. Do you agree?
Yeah.
But yet, there's a better scene with Jennifer Jason Leigh getting banged by Ticket Guy in the pool house or whatever that
Funny
is.
you should mention that today, because I was thinking about that movie had a great soundtrack.
It did. Fantastic.
Right. And for some of the artists, it was like a good memory having their song in the movie. I would say definitely the Phoebe Cates song for the Cars. That was pretty sweet.
Oh, yeah.
Moving in stereo. That was cool, but the Jennifer Jason Leigh scene for what's the guy who sings "She's gonna be somebody's baby tonight"?
Oh God, who does sing that?
She's got to be somebody's baby.
Jackson Brown.
Right. So Jackson Brown, he must have been bummed out, because for Jackson Brown, this is just some underage creepy. I mean, because they're underage, right? It's like you're literally watching underage people having sex on a baseball field, and then Damoli, what's the guy who sold the ticket? Damone's like, no, and then the song abruptly ends. He's like, oh, did you feel that? Oh, get out of here. Again, it's another, when you're a kid, like when you're just a little boy or whatever, it is a weird
all
thing
those
to
movies
watch.
were absolutely fucking creepy now,
Yes.
but you loved them as a kid. Dude, Risky Business.
Right.
Risky Business was about a high school kid fucking a hooker.
I tell you that they are very influential films, and Risky Business influenced me to steal my dad's Porsche.
Really?
Little fact, I tell a little story. My dad, he used to business travel a lot, and his dream was to have a Porsche. And he eventually got a Porsche 944 Turbo. I think he didn't buy it new. I think he bought it slightly used, but it was a beautiful car, and that was his baby. Whenever he was home, he was waxing that thing up, but I would watch Risky Business all the time. I had the VHS going, and I thought it was the greatest fucking thing ever at the time.
Is there a crack in the egg?
Oh, right, the egg, the Fabergé egg.
Yeah, the Fabergé.
Oh, there's so much cool stuff in there. But the Porsche scene's probably the best with him stealing his dad's car.
Sure.
So I always thought that was the best thing in the movie. So I had always in the back of my mind, one day I would take this guy's car. Because let me also interject that my parents didn't feel I had the maturity to drive at 16 years old.
Really? Okay.
Most of the California kids were driving at 16.
Sure.
I wasn't allowed to. So I think I was, in retrospect, harboring a little bit of bitterness over that.
Right.
Anger. Yeah, I was like, the fuck, entitlement. But I was like, oh, you're not going to let me drive, huh? We'll see about that. And one week, my dad was out of town, and I was rummaging through his shit. You go through your parents' shit.
Mm-hmm.
And or maybe you don't. I don't know. But I was a bored kid. Yeah, come on. You got to look at what mom and dad have around. And I found a key. It was a spare key to the Porsche. And I was like, oh, yes. So I called my buddy. Guess what, man? I had a high voice. I'm like, hey, man, let's go take the Porsche, man. I'll come pick you up. He's like, no way. Way, dude. And so I get in the car. I start up. Could barely drive a stick, and I'm end up. Right. Yeah. That car is it was actually interesting. I think it wasn't too hard to do that. The Porsche one. I had never even drove a stick, so that was ballsy.
Was it a Carrera or a 911?
No, it was a 944 Turbo. It was probably like a, I don't know, probably
it's
an
like
86.
the 280Z of Porsches.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, for my old man at the time, that was his prize possession. So I took it over to my buddy's house, and we kind of drove around a minute, and then but when we went to park it, the alarm armed itself, the car alarm, and it has a kill switch or something to where you can't start it once the alarm's going, apparently. So it was like, holy shit, what the fuck am I going to do? I don't have a beep boop, you know.
Right.
Eventually the thing turns off. Eventually it'll turn off, but I was like, what the hell are we going to do? And my buddy's idea was terrible. My buddy's idea was, let's take baseball bats, beat the fuck out of it, spray paint it, and launch it off a cliff and say someone stole it.
Jesus.
And I was like, no.
Right.
How about we call my friend Drago and Mark, these brothers that lived in my neighborhood, that were older, and their family owned a towing company back then in La Costa Towing, which no longer exists. There used to be a gas station in this one spot that had a tow yard. And so anyways, I had their number and I called them and I'm like, oh, what's it going to take? You guys got to come here and save me. And it's pouring rain too. That was crazy. But anyways, they came and the car alarm's going off, and they take the car. These guys showed up wasted too. My buddies that have the tow truck. They got beers. I had bothered them at a party. They were partying, and I'm all, are you going to damage the car? They're like, maybe, I don't know. They were like scaring me, but they ended up getting it up on the lift, and we, long story short, rolled it back into the garage and, wiped it down, and the alarm eventually went off. And so it was like disaster averted, but totally influenced by the movie Risky Business. So movies do make kids do stupid shit.
They do, definitely.
Yeah.
Dude, I have 2 car stories that are so similar. They're not exact similar, but similar. So the one, my dad was always crazy about his car. My dad drove kind of shitty cars. It's not like he had like great cars. But man, if you fucked with his car, you were committing a felony. And so one time I convinced him to let me borrow his car to go to the movies or something, right? I don't go to the movies. I pick up my friend Scott. We go out to this gravel pit, this big gravel pit near where we lived. And I was like, let's just go do donuts in the gravel pit. Let's just fucking, spin the tires.
The gravel
crazy,
pit,
right?
of all things.
A gravel. So it'd be shooting gravel.
Like rocks. Yeah.
My friend Scott says, hey, why don't we do some neutral drops? Do you know what a neutral drop is?
No.
You put the car in neutral, you rev the engine as hard as you can, and then you drop into drive while revving the engine. And then the wheels just, and you just go spinning around, right? Well, I'm so brilliant, I have no idea if there's a little thing called a transmission. No idea. I do like 2 or 3 of these, and I mean, I am revving the engine foot, it's in neutral, foot to the floor. Wee! Boom! Wee! Boom! Third one, wee! Boom! 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 I was like, oh, fuck.
Ooh.
Fucking completely stripped. I still don't know shit about transmissions, other than what makes them work is something that has teeth in it that catch, and it ripped the teeth off the whole transmission.
The guy's like, there's only one way this can happen.
Yeah.
Neutral drops.
Yeah. And
Chris!
How do you explain that? My dad, I had to call him. He had to get a friend to bring him because I had his car.
Right.
To see his car just fucking mangled in a gravel pit. And then we couldn't even move the car because the tow truck wouldn't come into the gravel. I mean, we were in the gravel. So the tow truck was afraid that if they got into the gravel that they would sink down. They wouldn't be able to get out of the gravel pit.
Sure.
It was one of my stupidest things I ever did as a kid. But that's only one. So here's number 2. It's even worse. Because this happened, this one happened quite literally the weekend after I got ungrounded for tearing up my dad's car. So I had tickets to go see The Romantics with Corey Hart.
Wow.
Old school. Cleveland Public Hall, about 30 mile drive from my house. I'm 16 years old. I was trying so hard to get in this girl Robin's pants. I wanted to have.
You wanted to borrow her pants?
No, I wanted to borrow that pussy. I wanted to fuck her so bad. And she was a big Romantics fan. So I was like, all right, I'm going to take her. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was about that time, too. It was What I Like About You and Talking in My Sleep or whatever that song was.
What I like about you, you wear your pants so tight.
Put my fingers in your snatch.
Oh, hey now.
Make 'em
Hey, whoa,
smell
whoa. It's a
so
children's
right.
show.
So
Show. Hold on.
I convinced my mom, lets me borrow her car. She had a nice car. My dad always drove pieces of shit. But my mom, because my mom was like a corporate manager at a pretty big bank, what is now PNC. Back then it was called National City, but it was a big bank, and she was pretty high up. So she drove a really nice car. And I convinced her to let me borrow her car. Lets me borrow her car. I go over to Robbins to pick her up, to go to the Romantics, Corey Hart. She had just got her license and her mom wouldn't let her drive anywhere. So she says to me something to the effect of, you can do what you want if you let me drive to this gig, to this show. You know what I did? Here's the keys. I let her drive. Well, needless to say, she was a typical new driver. Hits a fucking stop sign with a mirror on the passenger side of the car. Knocks it completely the fuck off. Like, rips it right off my mom's car.
Oh.
I'm like, son of a bitch. So what did we watch the show. We have a good time. She doesn't let me have sex with her, which really sucked. After she wrecked the car, then she's
a tease.
Yeah, it really was. I never did get to hit that, which really sucked. So we get home. I get home. It's late. It's probably midnight-ish. Nobody's up in my house. This is where I was just a stupid fucking kid. My brilliant plan was I went in the house, found some duct tape, put the duct tape in little like circles put it on the inside of the mirror and stuck the mirror to the fucking where it's supposed to
like those
sit.
stick-up deodorizers.
Yes. And then thinking that would hold. It didn't hold for my mom pulling out of the driveway the next morning.
Chris!
She come in and it's like 6:30 in the morning. She was leaving for work and I hear her yelling up the stairs for me. Get down here. I'm like, oh, son of a bitch. And sure enough, the mirror, she shows me the mirror sitting in the driveway, as well as a giant scratch where leading up to hitting the mirror that I didn't see, scratched the whole quarter panel, the front quarter panel. There was a scratch all the way to the mirror. I was like, oh. So needless to say, then I was never allowed to drive anybody's car again until I bought my own.
I ended up messing up my dad's car. Not too bad, but there was an incident in my early 30s, or no, it was probably late 20s. I hadn't been in the Piercy band too long, but I had met a couple girls that I ended up saying that they could fly out to see me in California, this pair.
Okay.
And my dad, I worked for him and he was out of town around that time. And I used he had like a Jeep vehicle, like a hardtop Jeep. Okay. And at some point they did have a hotel. When I went to pick them up, when one of them was like getting out, there was a car passing us and she like opened the door right in front of the car coming by. And it just ripped the whole siding off the fucking door. I was like, oh, he was just another disappointment, that my dad had for me.
You don't have these experiences, but I do. When my daughter started driving, she was the curse that I had given my parents. She literally, we bought her a car for good grades or something. I forget what it was, but she was a pretty good kid. So, I mean, she was a good kid. She never, no arrests, no drugs found in the room, none of that. Like, we didn't have to deal with any of the bullshit. She wasn't fucking her friends, none of that shit. So it was like, she turned 16 or 17, whatever. I don't remember what age she was, but whatever age she was, that she decided that she wanted a car. And so we bought her a car. She was me reincarnated. And I'm the first one to admit, I am the worst.
You found your car in a gravel pit with no transmission?
Not that, even worse than this somehow. I have wrecked so many cars. I'm a bad driver, I admit it. The car I have now is the best car I've ever had. As far
this
as
is the one where the hood flew up.
Yes. Yes. This one.
That's the best you've ever treated a car.
Well, it is actually, because I haven't hit anything in this car, and I've had it since 2013. I've done all the maintenance on it. I get it washed every week. I mean, I really have taken care of this car, unlike any other car. I've left 5 or 6 cars on the side of the road, just where I just take the plate off and walk away because they're just shit. Dude, for a while, and this is no bullshit, for years, you could ask any of my friends that you know, I would tell them all the time, I've always made decent money, but I would always drive $2,500 cars because I would crash them. I constantly was crashing cars. And so needless to say, I'm a terrible driver. So we get my daughter this car. It was a really nice, it was a Beamer. I found a Beamer, a guy that was like down on his luck, no, he was actually getting divorced or something. It was his wife's car that he just wanted to get rid of. Mm-hmm. So he sold it to me for $5,000, a fucking Beamer.
Yeah, you can get that.
I get this nice Beamer for my daughter. Really nice car. One day she comes over the house and, I'm walking out with her carrying something that she was picking up or something. And I look at her car. The fucking back bumper, the iron back bumper, is split in half. Literally in half.
Yeah, mine's like that right now.
But I was like, what the hell did you hit? I don't know.
A parking pole like I did?
But you would know.
Right.
If you hit something so hard that your metal bumper split in half, you're going to remember hitting it.
Metal, when they had metal bumpers.
Yeah, well, this was metal, dude. This was not, this is not aluminum. This was metal. And
metal! It's metal bumper! The classic metal show!
Yeah, classic metal bumper. But she split it, and then she's like, I don't know what I hit. I was like, oh. And then come to find out, she's just a terrible driver.
And I've ridden with her because she knew what she hit. A person.
She probably knew that she hit a pole or something, just didn't want to tell me. But I've ridden with her a few times here and there. Oh, is that a fucking terror? It's terrorizing. It's literally, and I literally look at it when I do have to ride with her. I'm like, this is my fucking payback. This is my payback for what I did to my parents with the cars. Sure. Dude, I had to ride with her with this fucking shoulder earlier in the year. I literally couldn't drive my car because I couldn't hold the steering wheel. So she took me to the doctor. I was more scared of dying from the ride than I was from the fucking shoulder. Because she's just, and she's a DoorDash person. That's what she does for her job. I'm like, Jesus Christ, these fucking people should be scared to death getting their food.
Right. Well, that's the difference between like DoorDash and say Lyft or Uber. Like the Lyft and Uber people, the app trains you to like drive very smoothly and accurately, but they don't do that for the food delivery. You just want to get the shit there right away. So you're used to driving like, here you go, bye. Yep.
I got to get back to it. There's another $8 order waiting for me.
Yeah, I got another $2 order. I got to get here.
Yep, exactly. Too funny, man. Well, I'll tell you what, dude, let's do this. Let's take a real quick break. We'll play one little quick spot, and then we'll come back, and I want to find out all about the Blue Ridge Rock Festival.
Yes, I was thinking that in my mind. I'm like, man, we already skipped some good shit. But
no,
sounds
we ain't
good.
Skipping nothing. I'm going to play a commercial. We'll be right back, so hang tight, folks. It is Chris Akin Presents.
It is time to save America and stop funding woke corporations. Shop with merchants that share your values today. Get all the great products you buy online anyway from Mammoth Nation. Visit the online store today at us.cmspn.com and save money while helping to fend off enemies of our way of life. We can't expect change until we make changes ourselves. Shop Mammoth Nation today.
And we are right back here on Chris Akin Presents. When I said it was a short break, I meant
I
it,
know.
Erik.
I got to start asking how short.
That was a quick one, but real quick before we get into this Blue Ridge Rock Festival, just a reminder, you see the little thing over here on the right side, the Rumble thing. All you Rumble people, please make sure that you are liking and subscribing to the channel. I guess you dickwads that are watching on YouTube can do it as well, although we really don't give a shit about YouTube. But if you want to follow there, you can, I guess. So you get most of the show. I actually kept a segment off of YouTube last week. The segment when we were talking about the jab and stuff.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea.
I just was like, they're just gonna cancel the channel. So I just put up how they have the little posts that you can put up. I just put up a graphic. It said, yeah, you can go over to Rumble and watch it. So, but you never have to worry about censorship with the Rumble or with CMSPN or ChrisAkin.net. It's never censored there. So
that's right.
You queers that want to stay with YouTube and are okay with being censored, fine. You can stay there and catch some of the show. Or you can be cool like the Rumblers and watch on Rumble and get all of the show. So anyway, so that's that. I don't want to get all preachy here because we got plenty to cover here. What I do want to hear about is the Blue Ridge Rock Festival, which was canceled because of weather considerations.
That's what I was told in the beginning.
Right.
But
well, you played.
else
Let's start there. You did get to play it, right? You played on what, Thursday?
Thankfully, yes, we did get to play, and this was a huge festival. I mean, this was like a 4-day event. I was quickly trying to look up all the bands that were here, and I went to the wrong thing. I don't know if you have
I'll
that
find
somewhere.
it real quick.
Okay. We were playing the opening day, which was a Thursday, and we were some of the rock lineup that was happening. It was Steven, also Vince Neil was playing. So, and we, of course, the Vince Neil band is also the Slaughter band. Slaughter. Right. All the guys that play in Slaughter play for Vince Neil. So it's always cool to see them and so forth. Ton of bands playing. We went on at like 3:30 in the afternoon, I think.
Yeah, I'm looking.
So
right
our
now.
show,
You were on what stage? The Monster stage?
Yes, the Monster Energy Drink stage.
I don't see
now
Thursday. What day did you play?
We played later. We played at like 3:30 in the afternoon. Vince Neil went on right after us. They had like 2 stages set up in that area. So one band setting up while the other band's playing. CKY.
There you go. You were on there you are. You went on at 3:30, then Vince Neil at 4:15. Yeah, CKY at 2:55. I love that band.
They're really cool, and we are going to have them on.
Cool.
We're going to have them on. I'm going to have my friend Todd, who I ran into there. He's going to facilitate it, and we're going to get a couple of those guys on because I guess they have some funny stories and stuff like that. So
yeah, I'd like to talk to them too because they fired the singer that wrote like all their original stuff is no longer in the band. I've had him on Chris Akin Presents before, and he was real cool, but he's real bitter. So I'd like to. If we can get them on, I will have a couple clips ready for, hey, here's what he said. Answer, please.
No, I will. In fact, I'll reach out to Todd today and tell him to start getting on it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they were playing their set while we were setting up. This thing was very, we'll say, disorganized for the most part. I mean, when the band that was playing had finished up and we went to go out there was no amps on the stage.
Right.
Like the back line didn't, I mean, I know Jason advanced it, but they were saying, oh, we didn't get anything that you guys needed a back line. You need a back line. And this thing's pretty like go, go, go. So it's like, what are you talking about? So then they had to roll out amps and stuff. And this thing started getting.
And just real quick to interrupt just for a second and to be very clear, you guys were not the first band on that stage either.
No.
There were 2 bands before you. So the fact that there was no back line to speak of is a little weird.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably some bands that bring their own shit, you know, too, that are actually on a tour. In that situation, I would imagine they would pull their own amps out and put them on there. But there was, of course, a backline company there. The first amp I go to throw up there, because this took some time to get it going. So now we're just like, you know, 10 minutes away from going on, you know what I mean? And I'm like plugging into what appears to be, it must have been a 50 watt head or something instead of 100, but there was just nothing coming out. It was had no body to it. It was just very thin sounding. It wasn't getting loud. I'm like, this amp's fucked up. Shit. Let's get another one up here. And then I had to take like an amp I wouldn't, you know, normally use, and took that over, get that one going. Of course, there's like a, hum going out of the fucking thing. So it was like, okay, it's going to be one of these gigs. But I was getting kind of enough out of it that I could at least go, all right, well, we're just going to have a throw and go here. Right. And that's what it was. We and people were getting angry, by the way. Another problem was the microphone. Like you said, bands were on before, so I don't know why this was even a fucking issue, but apparently they ended up having to swap a cable out for the mic that was on my amp because they could not get it through the cabling system. Like, Scott needs to hear my shit on the drums. They couldn't get it in there. It wasn't into the front of the house. So we're not going to go on until they figure that out, you know? Right. But now people are yelling in the crowd, fuck your sound check, start playing. Oh, fuck you want me to play and you're not going to hear it? You know, you don't want guitar in there? So it was getting a little hostile. And then somebody finally came over and goes, oh, let's try swapping the cable. And then it fucking, after a little, and then, you know, all of a sudden they got it and we were able to like get out there and play. It was a short set. We did like 10 songs or something like that. And as I was saying earlier, it was ridiculously hot. Let me back up though. Okay. Because we had to fly into North Carolina and get a hotel near the airport there, and then drive an hour and a half into Virginia, where this thing was out in the boonies. But it was like a border town, you know, kind of festival that was on the outskirts of Virginia, you know, close to North Carolina. So that made more sense for us plane ticket wise to go into a bigger airport, rent a couple cars, drive over there. They wanted us at this thing before. You actually got some footage from there. They wanted us there before 10 a.m. or something, where it would be too busy to get people in there. So that required us to like be showered at like 7:30 in the morning and then drive out to this thing. I was asking Jason, is there a dressing room? Is there going to be like anything like that? And he said, I heard there's going to be. What it ended up being was like a kind of solid bathroom. It wasn't a temporary bathroom, but it was like a bathroom that had 2 shitters in it and then 2 sinks in it. And I was like, okay. When it was time to get ready, I went to go in there thinking no one would be in there. Matt was in there and Dana Strum was in there. Although I didn't recognize it as Dana Strum because his hair was like down. He was like bending over and it was just blonde hair. And I just thought it was one of the opening bands, or I didn't know who it was. I saw Matt. I'm like, oh, you guys are in here. I'll come back. So I end up going back about 5 minutes later, and now it's just the one guy. Matt's not in there. I walk in. It smells like somebody took the biggest, worst dump you've ever smelled in your life. And I was like, fuck. And so I'm like, well, I guess this is it. I'm going to have to get dressed here. This other guy's here. The other guy turns out to be Dana Strum, because he starts going, hey, and he started like talking to me for a minute. I'm like, oh shit, Dana. Come here. I found Charlie Cat. Charlie Cat, Charlie Cat, Charlie Cat knows where it's at. It's Charlie Cat. Anyways, I had to get dressed with Dana Strum in a poopy smelling bathroom. Then Zoltan showed up. Zoltan, the crazy drummer, and then he comes in and he's taking a shit, and it was all a big kind of fucking. It was a little bit awkward, the whole thing. But he's such a nice dude. Like, I have to say, like, Dana Strum is a super nice guy, and he's always says nice things to me. He's always got like a nice compliment for me. And he was basically saying, you know, how good I sound playing the songs. And he's like, you know, that kind of thing. He's like, it's in your hands, you know, your hands get the tone.
Sure.
He's like, you have the right tone for it. And he said nice things to me before too. He's like, the first time I saw you play, I was like, that guy knows how to 80s rock. He'll say super nice, because sometimes guys like me that aren't famous guys from the 80s kind of need, it makes us feel good when we hear anything like that from somebody who's been around. So I was like, say to him, I go, man, 40 years ago when I was watching the Boys Gonna Rock video from Vincent Invasion,
right?
And I was like 12 years old and my dad had just got a VCR. We were able to like pause in slow motion. I used to like, play that song and try to figure out how the guitar was blowing up out of the amp. And,
nice.
I'd watch all the guys, the motorcycle guys that were on fire running around, and I would watch it all in slow motion. And if you told me that 40 years from now, I'd be standing in a shit stinking bathroom getting ready with you, Dana, I would not have believed it.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool, man. Well, so the gig you got to play, it was a little rocky, but you got to play.
Right. And Vince got to play.
And yeah. Now from
CKY got to play.
From what I understand, and from what you were even texting me, the weather was a little weird.
Okay, so that night the weather was an issue, apparently. Now, remember, we were going back to North Carolina because we were going to end up having to go to Puerto Rico. So we're going to catch... Sorry, I had my cat up here and now there's hair everywhere. We were going to have to fly from North Carolina to Puerto Rico.
Right.
So we were just got the fuck out of there. You know what I mean? We basically, Steven did a quick meet and greet, and we bailed out. So we weren't there for the hail that showed up. All of a sudden, there was an alert that went out. Everyone go for cover. If you're in the campgrounds, get in your tents, seek safety.
Right.
And I guess there was like, golf ball size hail hit the place.
Okay. Wow.
And so it had messed up some of the equipment. And so bands like Evanescence and a few others did not get to play due to that. Like some of the I don't know if it was the band's equipment or the backline equipment, but they didn't play. Now we know Will, the drummer for Evanescence.
Sure.
And we asked him because we were concerned. I was like, "Did you get paid?" Because that's
that's the artist motif, right? Did you get paid?
Well, we're working guys. We're not like local guys doing this for fun. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like, oh, did we get the money? So they did get paid. So I know they got paid, but that night was kind of a wash. I come to find out later that the whole festival ended up being canceled under the guise of weather, which was really crazy.
Right.
Before
you go there.
Right.
Just because I and a lot of other people have never been to this place.
Okay.
Is it an established venue like a Blossom Music Center or a Shoreline Amphitheater type of a venue? Or is it Woodstock where it's like a big old spot that they just constructed something out in an empty space where it could be in like the middle of a tornado alley?
It was like Altamont Speedway and the Rolling Stones movie, and they had the Hells Angels were there to kind of look over things. No, this was actually a speedway, but it wasn't like we were on a track. I don't recall seeing a track, but it was a speedway. This venue, as you kind of saw, you had shown a clip of us for a second. Those were just kind of rolling hills, if you will. There was like kind of green hills, like a lawn. It was just all kind of lawn kind of situation.
So it's a permanent place, but the staging itself is not permanent.
The staging was set up, correct. Okay. That would be correct. It was like a staging company was brought in to put up these stages. It's not permanent in that aspect, but this is an events area. It's typically a dragway.
Okay.
Raceway. So, us, Vince, CKY, I mean, we were all pretty lucky. Plus all the bands on the first day, I believe, got paid. Now, what we ended up hearing, and this is like secondhand. Okay. I'm getting all this second or third hand, but it wasn't weather that ended this thing. It was a union problem. Like things started going wrong. I guess the food that they put out ceased to be served after a certain point. If you know anything about union people, they, no matter what, do not work. They take their breaks on the fucking minute. They don't work a second past it. If it's lunch, they get their lunch. They don't give a fuck. There's no sob story that's going to make a union
the union's not giving up their benefits for the sake of we got to make the show great. They don't.
Yeah, the show's got to go on. No, what they did, they go, okay, bye, and they all fucking left.
Oh my god,
they just left. And then apparently, like all the toilets were locked up. They like locked up all the toilets or something, and so nobody could even take a shit. Like if you had to take a shit, it was in the woods.
Oh my god!
You had to go shit in the woods.
So this was like the Fire Fest.
Fire Fest. It was very much like that,
Oh
and
my God.
apparently, it's possible that this organizer might have a similar background to the Fire Fest. I don't know that for sure, but clearly it was more than just weather that tanked this thing. But there were some big bands. Who do you got on there, Chris? It was Pantera being probably the biggest.
Yeah, Pantera
there was a lot of metal bands. I'll tell you, like we didn't really fit in at this thing, to be honest. I felt like the crowd, a lot of them didn't know the songs. You know what I mean? Like a lot of metal going on.
Yeah, Pantera. I'm just looking real quickly at the biggest names: Pantera, Limp Bizkit, Lamb of God, Corey Taylor. I mean, these are all big names. Avatar, Shinedown, Megadeth, Papa Roach.
Oh shit!
These are all bands that did not get to play. Black Label Society. Those are Saturday and Sunday bands. Slipknot. Danzig.
Corey Taylor gets to double down on this festival.
Of course, makes twice the money.
Wow.
So is Black Label. Zach Wilde playing for Black Label and Pantera.
Nice payday.
Yeah, nice. Who else? Cole.
Do they play on the same day, or is it different days? I wonder.
No, they play
like Corey Taylor versus Slipknot.
They're on different days.
Okay.
Corey Taylor is on Sunday, and Slipknot was on Friday.
Okay.
So
he just was going to stay in town and then do his show.
Out. Why not?
Yeah.
Probably go and hang out and watch these other bands. I wonder if his kid, I'm looking now to see if his kid's band played too.
Oh, yeah. That would make sense.
Because that would make sense if he's there double dip it. Might as well triple dip it and get your
Family Values Tour 2023.
Yeah, I don't see his kid's band listed though. So
wow, that's even more bigger bands than I thought. This thing was
a lot of
sold
big bands, man.
This event was sold out. It was like 50,000 tickets were sold for it.
Oh, wow.
So it's surprising that this union thing went down. So there must have been, I don't know what was going on.
It had to be more than the fucking catering wasn't right.
Well, we didn't really get anything. I mean, we couldn't even really get waters back in our backstage. And our backstage was like the size of a closet. It was kind of ridiculous. They did have a tent area that had kind of food served, but we all were making jokes because it was kind of like a outside prison yard kind of situation. Like we were joking that we should be ball and chain together walking up there getting our food. You go down with your thing and they just give you a small portion of
right
each thing.
Do you think these events, I get why they do it, because they got to somehow justify charging, $200 a ticket or $300 a ticket or whatever. But do you think they just overreach, that it's just like, I'm just looking at this. I would never go to this. Even when I was 20, I mean, dude, this has to be 80 bands. It's
a lot of pay-to-plays too, so take that into account. Apparently, out of the 80 bands, I mean, you definitely named like 20 big bands, but there's about 60 pay-to-plays.
Biohazard, Cav Conspiracy, Exodus. Oh, there's Corey Taylor's band. They did play. Vended. There they are. They did play. So tripled up on the music.
Nepotism.
Yeah, but I'm just looking at this whole. It's just too many bands, and then I guess there was a club experience with Vanilla Ice and 2 Chainz and
Bobby Blotzer's Vanilla Ice experience.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's so much there. It's too much, and I'm not trying to shit on the festival necessarily. It sounds like the union took care of that allegedly, but So anyway, back to what we were saying. So you heard, and I heard it too. I looked online, and there was a lot of talk about the union people just walked out on this fucking event.
Yep.
So why wouldn't they just admit that? Why would they make up the weather story so they could try again?
Probably, I don't know, maybe to keep people from panicking or being angry, and maybe it would less people would demand a refund. It's off the top of my head, perhaps, if they were like, well, it's God's fault. Meh. Or
dude,
like,
who's not gonna who's not I don't care whose fault it is. If you take half of a festival from me, I want my fucking money back.
Right. These people really, that were out there in the sun. Oh, that was another thing. I think there was like 15 cases of heat stroke.
Oh my God.
And that was on the first day. Yeah, it was rough, man. I was a little concerned about it. That's why we look a little morose up there in the crowds, not really into it.
I have to imagine, and I have no knowledge of this, but maybe you do because you were there and maybe you talked to people. I have to imagine there were people that flew in for this. Because it's like...
Yeah, we flew in, and boy, our arms tired.
Yeah. I mean, seriously, people that are going to one event a year, this is the same as like going on the Monsters of Rock cruise.
Right.
People would take their flight. I mean, because it's like if you're into Pantera, just naming one band, you can see Pantera, Lamb of God, Megadeth, Biohazard, Machine Head, Overkill, Death Angel, all on the same weekend. That's like Testament played it. You could literally catch all the bands that you want to see in one shot, plus 90 other bands. So I got to think there was a lot of people that flew in and did the hotels and all this other shit, and they got nothing. They got fucking shit on. They're going to demand their money back. If they, dude, here's the real, and this is just being honest, and correct me if you think I'm wrong in any way on this statement. If you had tickets to this, you are not getting a refund. No way.
Right.
There's no way. Especially
I'm
if they
thinking
have
too,
to
as
pay
you
the
say
band.
this, is there an act of God clause in the fold? You know what I mean? That could make a difference too. Maybe he was saying, oh, it was a weather thing. We don't have to pay you. Versus, oh, we fucked up. It's totally our fault.
Yeah.
Who knows? But yeah, they did announce a place to get refunds for it. But in a way, this thing was also a big camping event too, I believe, because I had just gone to the website for a second and I saw that there was campgrounds and things like that. So, as far as the package, I don't know what exactly you're paying for the whole experience, maybe if you're staying there. So you wouldn't probably get refunded if you brought your whole camping setup and paid for a spot and all that. You were there, you camped. So
yeah.
the
Well, it's
concert
not
could have just been the
cheap.
icing on the cake with that.
Dude, I can tell you right now because they haven't taken. Well, these are for next year's. In case anybody wants to go next year to this thing, the price.
In case they booked it for hurricane season next year too.
The pricing is the lowest. The lowest money is $200 for the 4-day admission. The highest money, if you want the Rockstar experience, I don't know what that equals, but is $1,950. So if you're and there's price points for everything.
That experience would be you get to take a dump with Zoltan Chaney in the bathroom for $950.
You get a bathroom without a lock on it.
That's right, not a door.
Oh my God, dude! These prices are really expensive because they have three tiers: general admission, 4-day VIP, and 4-day Rockstar.
I'd be crying more tears than that.
Oh, 4-day general admission is from $200 to $300. VIP is $550 to $670, and 4-day Rockstar is $1,650 to $1,950. That seems pretty high.
Right. Well, I'm eventually going to get paid for that. This was such a whirlwind. I'm so waiting. I got to get paid on these 2 gigs. That didn't happen yet, but I will. I'll get covered, and we're playing a couple more shows this week. But I think these were. I was thinking about that. I'm like, didn't they pay with a check?
Oh boy.
but I'm pretty sure that thing got cashed immediately. So I would imagine like any Ponzi scheme, the first,
Right.
people get their money. So the Thursday, where at first I was like, shit, we got to play on a Thursday. And that ended up being the only good day to play if you want money.
Odds are good that the Stephen Piercy check cashed quicker than the Pantera check. Is that what you're saying?
I think so. Hopefully. Yeah, because we were like taking a picture of it, sending it to Sullivan Big, to our agent, to get him to
online banking. Quick, cash.
Yeah. Funny. So we're fortunate there, and that was it. We were off to Puerto Rico hearing about this stuff, but the drama didn't end for the rest of the band. I feel bad that they got stuck out there. That's got to suck. Oh, and I also didn't mention, even though their flights to Vegas didn't go, their bags did. So that's got me perplexed.
Oh, so they don't have any clothes or nothing?
No, their fucking luggage went to Vegas where they wanted to go, and they're in New York probably paying for their own hotel rooms to be reimbursed at a later time. That Steven must be fucking losing it.
Yeah. They're all walking around with their "I love the Big Apple" T-shirts that they all bought at the
Steven
airport.
got "I love Puerto Rico." Like he was on stage, he had the thing. I was like, "Hey, I love Puerto Rico." He had that on stage. He might have been wearing it still the next day. So yeah, he's walking around with an "I love Puerto Rico" shirt on.
That's hilarious.
In New York, all pissed off with no credit card, his luggage in another fucking place. So, I mean, after this, I think definitely they're going to have us avoid JFK at all costs in the future. What a terrible fucking airport that is.
There's a few of them that are bad, dude. And you know it way better than me, but like, I would rather take a bus than stop in Atlanta. Atlanta is the worst to me. The worst airport.
That is a pop. We're in Atlanta a lot. I mean, it does kind of suck there in Atlanta, but it seems like we have never been stuck there though. I mean, they have a lot of flights that come in and out of Atlanta.
Yeah. O'Hare sucks.
Mm-hmm.
O'Hare's just so busy. It's not that it's so bad. It's just so busy.
Landing it's sketchy as fuck. It's the Windy City. Yeah. I mean, definitely the scariest plane experiences I've ever had were most definitely in Chicago coming in, where they've had I don't know if you've ever had the pleasure of a pilot aborting the landing as he's landing.
Oh no.
Yeah, that's like one of those 0G experiences that you see the space guys training for, the parabolic moves they do. But yeah, basically they come in, you're just like, and a big, Boeing, and then the thing, it's about to land, and you're just like, whoa, cups are floating in the air and shit. You're like, holy shit. People are crying, fucking.
Yeah, they're screaming,
praying.
Yeah. Dear God.
Yeah. You can smell poop smell from the people that crap themselves.
Jesus.
Speaking of which, God damn it. It's like, it seems like there's always a farter on the plane. Secret farter. Don't know who you are, but it stinks like shit. So fuck you. I was Secret Lover if I wasn't singing it really good. But Secret Farter. You'll smell this distinct smell. Okay, it's a fart. You're like, God damn it, I think somebody farted. But you can't hear it because the plane's like, so it kind of covers all the fart sounds. But man, they must have let off like 30 farts during this fucking flight. And it was from New York, goddamn. It's like 6 hours of farts.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
It's like, who is it? I think it might have been this huge guy. There was a really big dude, younger dude that was like sitting next to me, and he slept the whole way. It's possible he could have been farting himself in his sleep. Because he probably eats a lot. He probably, he's young. You're at that age, you can eat anything, and whatever. Maybe it was his
two
farts.
bags of nachos and cheese.
There was a lady behind me that had used the bathroom right there at some point. When she came out, I thought I smelled a similar smell to the fart smell. So I thought it might have been her fart. But there's that situation. Like, have you ever seen that phenomenon where you clone a fart? Like you smell someone's fart, and then you're like, that's disgusting. And then when you fart, your fart smells the same as that fart. It's like a weird cloning thing. So it's possible in his sleep he cloned her fart and he continued the fart. It's just a theory.
Dude, you are making my decision to not be a musician so much better by the minute. I regret for a lot of years. I ain't gonna lie, because and you've heard this. I can sing okay. You know, I actually do have a little bit, and I'd imagine if I would have worked on it every day for 30 years, I probably could have been pretty good at it. That being said, with every week that goes by doing this show, I'm more and more happy that I did not engage at all in being a musician. The traveling, the fucking farting, the gigs with no
It's
pay.
all over but this farting. I've come to take what's mine.
Just all of it. Worrying about getting paid, worrying about getting killed at a venue because it's fucking hailing the size of golf balls, and you're out in fucking Tornado Alley trying to play songs. This all sounds horrible, man. All of it.
I almost
horrible.
I almost got into a altercation with a homeless guy in Puerto Rico on my second morning, going out to rustle up some grub, if you will. The best like food situation I was able to find in Puerto Rico was a Subway. Believe it, because they this is an American province, so they do have like a Churches and a Burger BK, and no Starbucks sadly around, but anyways, Subway had a sign that they offered breakfast, and when I went in there, they had some plate that I don't know if they do it in here on the mainland, if you will, but it was this little circle bowl kind of plate bowl thing, and she makes a Spanish omelet right there on the spot, which is pretty dope. Makes a killer Spanish little omelet. You could have a choice of meat in there. I did this breakfast 2 days in a row. First day was a heart attack special where I go double bacon. So she like put bacon in the omelet, and then she put bacon on the side. What else? It came with they take a loaf of, you get to pick some bread that they use for their sandwiches, and I picked like a multigrain, and they chop a couple pieces of it up, they squirt some like butter on it, they put it in the oven and make this like killer little toast with the omelet, and then they give you a little bag of hash browns with it. What do you think that would, and a couple, I got that. Oh yeah. So what do you think that would cost? Those items are double bacon, Spanish omelet, hash brown, and the bits of about 4 little pieces of thing. What do you think that would cost? This is a restaurant? This is a Subway. This is a Subway. Subway. And this is their grande platter, breakfast platter.
$12.
$7.
Really? Wow, that's pretty
$7.
good.
Yeah, I actually threw a tip in there.
I didn't even know Subway made breakfast.
Me neither. I don't think they do. I mean, they did here. Some stuff's like just what do you call it, where it's located just in that area kind of thing.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, I kind of felt bad because it was like, geez, it was like a mom making me breakfast in the morning or something. All the work she had to do. So if they have to do a lot of work for your shit, you should probably tip them.
Can you tip at a Subway?
Yeah, they had a little tip jar there. It was early too. Nobody had been in there, but that's the whole other thing. Like I said, you get the sense that the local people don't have too much. You see there's drug people and stuff. There's definitely a homeless element. But the second day I go, okay, I'm going to go back there, and it's early. It's only like 9 a.m. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So you're not looking to get into trouble at 9 a.m. Right. And I start making my way not too far to get over to this Subway. But as I'm crossing this one, there's always that like loud homeless guy who's drunk, who thinks he's charismatic. That comes up to ask you for shit. Oh, sir, can I speak to you for a moment? You're like, oh, fuck. Yeah, so I start like, for me, that's what, because I am kind of from the streets, if you will.
Yeah, sure.
In the sense that, like, I'm kind of white trashy. I start reverting back to that.
Right.
Way the poor guy me from back, so I just kind of like go fuck you, and I just gotta like keep walking. I'm not like a tourist. Oh yes, sir. What do you have to tell me today?
Hello, Mr. Native. How are you?
Well, hello. We just showed up. We're visiting from California. How are you? My name's Erik.
I have $3,000 of money in my pocket. Don't rob me, though.
So he's I have one thing, and then as I walked away, he goes, and he starts like talking a bunch of shit as I walk by. And he's like, I'm sorry, my Spanish isn't very good, but he's like yelling all this shit, and he's a pretty big dude too, and you can see he's like kind of following me a little. And I'm like, whatever. And he was really like mad that I didn't let him do his pitch on me. Right. You know what I mean? That I just kind of went and took off. So he had kind of walked over to the parking lot. And then after I got my Spanish omelet and my bread and my little tater tots, and I was heading back to the hotel, I'm holding this awkward bag, and I had already had a coffee this time from the hotel. It was pretty good, the Americano. Very hot, even when he handed it to me at the hotel. And I kept that in mind. He said, this coffee's very, very hot. So when I saw this homeless guy again, I would go, well, the first thing I'm going to do if he fucks with me is I'm going to smash him in the face with this really hot coffee just to throw him off. I'm going to he's going to get a face full of this goddamn coffee, and then I'm going to stomp his ass. But I really didn't want to like do that in this Puerto Rico, a place I'm not familiar with.
International incident, right?
Yeah, there's witnesses. You could see it was like 9 things are starting to open up. All the restaurants, so they probably know this guy.
Plus, there's going to be people that recognize you.
Potentially, but I'm sure they recognize him. He's probably the guy that's always in their fucking parking lot. They know him very well, and I don't know his backstory. I don't know what's going on. I mean, I'm sure he doesn't want to be fucking homeless. I mean, he's, obviously trying to put some effort into his pitch or whatever to the tourist.
And for all you know, he's the recruiter for Johan Vandersloot or whatever his name is.
Who fucking knows? You're right. Yeah. I'm sure like somebody actually is. If you're a good person, you usually have friends that help you out and you're not homeless. Yeah. So So anyways, he did kind of make his way, and I was like, they tell you to use the reflection of windows and stuff to see what's going on behind. So as I was like walking by Burger King, I didn't look at him, but I was watching to see if he was going to come up from behind or anything, because I had that coffee fucking ready to go.
Right.
But no, he kind of kept his distance, and I went back, enjoyed my breakfast, and we went and did the Puerto Rico gig happened much later in the evening, but a great show. I don't know if I hate when I have to make you go to stuff while you're sitting there, but on my Facebook, I did post a couple of pictures of the crowd, which are pretty cool.
It looked like it was really hot too. Was it really?
Oh, it was another and this is one of those, and I haven't really drank much at all in the last few years when I'm out on these things, because as I'm older, it's so hard to do these traveling and shit when you're hungover or anything like that. But sometimes you'll go to these places that are so hot, they drink beer like it's water. Like they don't drink the water there, they just drink the beer, and they actually make a fantastic, lager or whatever locally at this place that we were playing at. Like that's also where their local brewery is or something. Yeah, take a look at this crowd. Pretty good. And so yeah, I was drinking some beers. It was so hot, and that's characteristic of me as of these recent years. But it tasted delicious. Man, when it's really hot, you're like, oh yeah, pitcher of beer, thank you very much. And I was like, burp, burp, burp. This show was with Quiet Riot. Okay, so very cool. I would love this Quiet Riot. I know people, and you and Neely have had your thoughts on it, which vary from mine. Not all the characters on the Classic Metal Show Network share the same views on stuff, and there's nothing wrong with that. On the Classic Metal Show Network, all the characters involved have different thoughts and opinions, and I think that's great. Yeah. I don't think we should all like share. What if we're wrong on our thought? You know what I mean? Like, you don't all want to be wrong. At least like some, have a couple of the guys have gotten it right. And for me, I do understand that you want to have at least one original guy in the band, and it was getting to that point where Quiet Riot was really. You had Chuck Wright, he was in the band, for a bit, but not
for
any
of the good years.
Right. It was like the QR3 time.
And
But
the
from what I
Randy
understand,
Rhoads
'cause-
years, wasn't he?
Well,
in the Randy years too.
That's a good question. I'm not sure. One thing I do know from playing with Chuck is because Chuck Wright is a friend of mine for sure. Like,
Okay.
and God bless him. I mean, his health is not fantastic these days either. So I know he's going through tests, heart stuff. So we wish him the best. But
Sure.
he let me know that he wrote "Bang Your Head." Apparently.
Oh, really? I did not know.
Boom, bam, 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 bam,
Yeah!
boom, boom. Yeah, so it's a pretty sick song. He actually wrote that, for what it's worth. So before you talk any shit, you should probably know that Chuck is an integral part of the Quiet Riot story.
I'm not talking shit. Do you think I was?
No, not at all. I was actually talking to the audience.
Oh, all right. I was gonna say, it
But
wasn't
the
me.
iconic guy we remember is, of course, Ruti Sarzo.
Yeah.
The luckiest bass player alive, who just happens to like been in all the awesome fucking iconic bands, it seems. Whether
He
it
has
was
been in a bunch.
yeah, Ozzy Osbourne, Whitesnake. He like rolls in right at the right moments. Am I right, Chris?
Yeah, and Blue Oyster Cult, and he's been in a bunch of those bands. Hell yeah.
He's one of the most cool performers of that era too, and he's got to be in his, he's got to be 70. You know what I mean? But he looks fucking the same. He looks great. He's not a very loud guy or anything. He's just very polite. He's just he's got an overall good attitude, which is very important.
Dude,
in the
he
business.
Is 72.
Yeah, man. He's up
Wow.
there, but he's it does look like he's going to be stopping anytime soon, and
He looks about 40.
right. I mean, and even really up close, he does not look that old. I mean, I would say maybe like late, he could be late 50s, like, but anyways, he
Hold
still
on, real
does
quick,
all.
real quick before you even go further. I want to go back to your point about the bands he's been in.
Sure.
Listen to this list. Jesus
Okay.
Christ. Quiet Riot, Ozzy Osbourne, Whitesnake, Manic Eden, Dio, Blue Oyster Cult, Queensryche, Devil City Devils, and the Guess Who.
Right. The Queensryche's a little loose there. I think that was the Bobby Blotzer Queensryche.
Yeah,
like
that's the Jeff Tate one, but still, he's still in it.
Right. He got his. Yeah. Okay.
We could take that one off the list. Still, he was in both Ozzy and Dio and Whitesnake and Blue Oyster Cult. Those are 4 majors.
And like, some of the most iconic, videos of the time. Specifically, probably the Whitesnake video being the number one. Would you say that's the biggest?
Yeah. Or Metal
either
Health
Still of the Night,
or
Still of the Night, and
Noise.
Here I Go Again.
Come On, Feel the Noise too.
Come On, Feel the Noise. You're right. I mean, and that was a record that when I was 12 and I heard like Metal Health, I was like, what the fuck is that? It was like on the radio, and I was blown away by it, and I had to have the album. I had to fucking have it. Now, after I got it, I didn't like the album very much.
I ain't gonna lie. See, that's where me and you are different. That is the one Quiet Riot album I absolutely love. It's
got some good bangers on there, and they play all that stuff. Jizzy Pearl now. I am a fan of Love Hate.
I am biggest fan of Love Hate.
Okay, cool. I'm glad.
Love them.
Okay, awesome. And I had the pleasure when I was a young man, when I was probably 20 years old, 21 or whatever, got to open for Love Hate in San Diego at the now defunct Bacchanal, which we used to joke and call it the Butt Canal. But it was a big, wooden 1-level monstrosity shed.
Yeah.
And we got to open for Love Hate there, and it was a super big deal for us at the time, and because our singer was a huge fan of Jizzy, and we thought that album was just so rock, and I loved it more than GNR's Appetite.
I don't
The
know
first
that I'll go that far, but
yeah, well, at the time I did, because I loved Jizzy's voice so much more than Axl's mostly. Right. I mean, I know that the Appetite's a iconic musical all the riffs and everything are fantastic. But Axl's got the Ethel Merman thing going on. That's just, I was hard for me back then to get behind, if you will. But I was all about love hate. So anytime I get to play shows with Jizzy Pearl, it's
Sure.
super fun and amazing, and he always puts on such a good show. I've also got to know Alex, the guitarist, because we're both scabby guys. We're scabs, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's why we've been in the scab scene for a long time. He's also plays in Hookers and Blow, which is a fun cover band with one of the GNR guys, the keyboard player Dizzy Reed,
right?
And they've been doing that forever. I don't know if you've ever seen that. Hookers
I don't
and
like
Blow.
Alex, so no.
I know you and Alex don't get along.
Not get along.
And hey, that's as we share different opinions on the classic metal show, we don't all share the same opinions. So like,
I don't like the same people.
No, not at all. And we're respectful of those things, and unless somebody directly fucking fucks with us, and then you're going to get fucked from both of us. But I just want whoever, even all those people to know, don't necessarily avoid our show or think our show's bad. I mean, I might not share the same opinion on it, but every time I see those guys, they're very cordial to me, and we all just act as comrades out there, and there's no egos. And
dude, it was the weirdest thing with the CMS having the problem with them stemmed from Neely saying that he didn't think that Jizzy sounded the part when he joined Quiet Riot.
Okay, right when he
which
joined,
I absolutely disagreed with even on that day. But Jizzy got mad at me, and I was like, I'm the biggest Jizzy fan there. Dude, the first time I met Jizzy was, I think it was when he was in LA Guns. I'm pretty sure it was. And I showed up to a show, and it was one of the very few in my entire life, there's maybe three times I've shown up with more than one thing for anybody to sign. Because mostly I don't get anything signed. I'm really not fanboy or collector boy or whatever. I showed up with every Love Hate CD known to man. Because Love Hate is, and I make no bones about it, in the 80s, 90s time frame, Love Hate was my favorite band of that style.
Yeah.
Better than Motley Crue, better than Poison, better than
Ezra,
better than all of them. I liked Love Hate is my favorite. Blackout and Wasted in America and Let's Rumble are three of my top 10 albums of all time. Love them. Psalm. Dude, I saw him. You want to talk about?
She's my gangbang slave girl. I'm your homeboy.
I need some fuel. I need some fuel to run.
I need to feel the ride.
That's a fucking great record. I don't care what anybody says.
I need to feel the ride.
Great record.
So
Every
cool.
song
I saw that
great.
tour. They opened for
that.
Dio.
I saw that tour in California when they opened for Dio, Shoreline. And then I saw Wasted in America.
Wasted in America.
With it was 3 nights back to back. You're gonna like this. 3 nights back to back. First night was Dee Snider's Widowmaker. Second night was Love Hate. Third night, guy you might know a little bit, Mr. Stephen Piercy with Arcade. Back to back to back nights. Yeah.
Is it
back to back?
Is he a rock guy or?
Yeah, he used to be.
Awesome. How was the Piercy? That did you see him
great,
too?
dude.
Did you watch Arcade? Right?
Yeah, dude. I went specifically to see it. I loved it. I loved those first two. I think the only 2 Arcade records are fucking fantastic.
Steven let us open for
3,
them in San Diego. There was I think it was a New Year's Eve maybe event or something that had Arcade, Asphalt Ballet, and then my band Voodoo got to open the show, and that would be the first time I would ever go on stage. It was at the Red Lion Hotel. It would be the first time that I ever went on stage with Steven and played Round and Round. He said, "Hey, why don't you come up on Round tonight?" And I was like, "What?" I was like, probably 20, 21 years old or something at the time. I was just a kid, and that was phenomenal to go. That was probably at the time one of the bigger crowds I had ever gone up and played. And I really didn't even know the song, but I was just going to kind of play along and kind of play the chords like the E and the G. And whatever. But I was up there. I probably wasn't even going through the PA system, but I was up there. Steven gave me his custom Les Paul, white Les Paul, to play up there, and I went up, and Frankie was there, Frank Wilsey, who I would actually spend many years on the road with later.
Sure.
Fred Curry was the drummer of Fred Curry's Cinderella.
Mm-hmm.
So that was cool. So they were a good band at the time. So they were on the third night of this thing. Love Hate was the second night, and Widowmaker was the first.
Widowmaker's the first, back to back, at the what was the name of that club? It's no longer there. Flashes nightclub in
Flash Us,
exactly.
I know that's okay.
Flash Us. It was
Fleshlight.
It was a great week. One of the better weeks I've had in my rock viewing was to see those 3 shows. It was really good. So
I upped on the Terp Chews.
Huh?
Yeah. I was well, for one, I wasn't sure what Puerto Rico was going to be like, and I didn't know if I wanted to bring any flour, if you will, or
right.
And I ended up opting for gummies. And last time I went to the store, I just bought like bags of these. But usually when you have to worry the most, traveling with anything, it's on the way back.
Right.
That's when they're going to be concerned, and this was no exception. This is a Puerto Rico. They want to make sure you're not taking any produce that could bring any bugs back to the mainland. You know what I mean? Yeah. Which is you don't want that. I wouldn't want that anyway. But we had a friend with us, a translator, a friend of Jason's that he grew up with in New York, who speaks Spanish very well. And I remember asking him as I was about to go in the security, like, I got gummies. He's like, oh, don't worry about the gummies. No,
it is fine. It is fine.
Man, no, you're good with the gummies. With the gummies. And so I've been eating the gummies. I've been eating these gummies. Like they're just regular gummies, but they're gummies that fuck you up.
Am I the most fucking annoyed person in the world that you can buy and eat those gummies where you are? Not an issue. Here, it's really not an issue here either, except buying them is the issue.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, here, you could literally be smoking pot in your car and you get a ticket. You have to throw the joint out and you get a ticket. Why is this still a law? What is the fucking point?
I don't know. Maybe the youth is already having trouble there as it is enough. They think if they introduce that, it's going to bring down society a little more.
One town over from me is a town called Streetsboro. It's where I grew up. And they have like one of the biggest meth problems known to man. Mm-hmm. Lord knows, and maybe I'm crazy. I'd much rather be around a bunch of guys smoking pot than doing meth.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yeah.
What? And if you make the pot cheap, as long as you don't make it $33 a pack for a pack of marijuana cigarettes, if you make it $6 a pack or whatever, dude.
How much do you think this was?
How many are in it?
20. Wait, no, let's see. There's 20.
$40.
$20.
Oh, so it's $1 a gummy?
Yeah. I get an ounce of weed for like $100.
See,
which is insane. I couldn't do that when I sold it.
Dude, here the vape is more the thing anymore. More people are vaping than are just like rolling joints and smoking. But you still can't buy it here. So literally people, and I won't say who, but I happen to know quite a few that literally will put together, $200-$300 and they'll drive up to Michigan, next state over, and then they'll buy, what is an illegal amount to transport, but so that they only have to do it once every 6 months. They'll go across the, and I keep saying literally, but quite honestly, you get past the big green sign that says, "Welcome to Michigan." And the first exit has signs all for it. Cannabis, vape, weed vape, all this stuff. It's the first exit. And you just pull right in there. You load up. You give them $200-$300. Drive back.
Both cities we played in Virginia, I think North Carolina too, and Puerto Rico all had dispensaries. All of them did.
It's just dumb now that, if you're in California, you can smoke weed. If you're in Utah, you can't.
And the tax money can be used. I mean, they could use it for good things if they wanted to. They won't, but it takes in millions and millions. The shops here have to pay a crazy amount. That's another thing is licensing to get the license to open these shops. Like here in Southern California, you're talking like you're going to need maybe even a couple $1 million to get one of those licenses. There's only so many they give out.
Right.
You totally have to pay somebody off down there to like even be considered. Where other places, maybe Oklahoma or something like that, probably has the cheapest licensing fees, where like maybe for $5,000 you could get a license and open a place. But of course, like any gold rush, everybody runs out there to open up a place, and it's always a struggle. And the system works a certain way where you got to pay off the overlords to run your operation. And just to get it going, it's got to be it's a big money thing. So I don't know what's going on in your little city there. It's probably something in the back room that hasn't been worked out.
Exactly. All right, dude. Enough pot talk. Let's take a quick break. We're gonna play a little song here from Vixen, and then we will be back with Brit Lightning. How's that?
All right.
All right. So let's do that. Let's play a little bit of Vixen, and we'll be right back right here on Chris Akin Presents. And right back here on Chris Akin Presents, myself, Mr. Erik Ferentinos, and joining us now from Vixen, Miss Brit Lightning. Brit, how are you?
Hello, everybody. I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Oh, we're so stoked you're here, Brit. Good to see you.
Great to see you.
Well,
we're going to be playing in a couple days together.
I know. 2 days from now. I can't wait. I love when we play together. It's so fun.
It is. And you were playing this weekend too. You had September Fest.
Yeah, Rocktember. I know. I kept calling it Rocktober too. Rocktember. Yeah, we did that. Was that yesterday? I can't even remember. It is Saturday. And then and then we did a good one on Friday too. Oh, the Arcada. I love the Arcada Theater in Chicago.
Awesome. So you're probably pretty tuckered out yourself. I haven't had too many hours of sleep. We had to come from Puerto Rico and go to JFK, and I probably got back 8 hours ago or something myself.
I know. I saw that.
We're so stoked that you did make it today.
Well, I'm happy to be here.
Well, Britt, we were talking earlier. Me as the non-musician, I have no idea, but we were talking earlier about worst airports there are. Erik is claiming JFK. Would you care to offer it on this?
Yeah, I hate LAX. I think LAX is the worst. And it has a lot to do with the pickup drop-off terminal area, because if you want to get an Uber, you have to walk all the way. You have to walk like 2 miles to the Uber pickup station, or if not, you have to get on an extra shuttle that takes you around all the terminals and eventually drops you off at the Uber thing. And I'm always getting off the plane with like guitars and overweight suitcases, and like I'm just so loaded down, a backpack that weighs more than me. And so the thought of like getting on an extra shuttle or doing, or walking, I end up walking as soon as I get off the plane, because I want to stretch my legs anyways. But by the time I get to the Uber pickup station, I'm like sweating. I have like no layers on anymore, because you're on the plane and you have all the extra sweatshirts, and it's just like, it's a mess. I hate it.
I had both airports yesterday. So it was JFK to LAX, because I live in San Diego, but sometimes the plane ticket is like half the price if I go out of LAX with the other guys. So I once in a while will agree to do that. And this was one of those trips. So of course we had to go, Puerto Rico, JFK into LAX, and the flight from JFK was delayed, but we were lucky enough to make our flight. I don't know if you heard the beginning of the show, but all the Vegas people are stuck in New York right now. Steven Piercy, his lady, Jason Green, Johnny Monaco, they are all stuck in New York. All the Vegas flights were canceled for like 2 days. Now, I don't know how this is possible, but their luggage somehow did go to Las Vegas. So they don't have their luggage. And their credit cards were all compromised in Puerto Rico. So they must be just flipping out. Yeah. But we'll find out probably soon what's going on with them. But I make it to LAX. Now I had went to Wally Park Express to park, which is the cheaper Wally Park. And I kind of realized why. It's because the Wally Park Premier probably has about 5 shuttle vans to pick up. And I only think there's one buckety Wally Park Express van. And it probably comes by once an hour or some shit. So after getting in late last night, it was already like 11:30 at night. I was standing outside for like an hour, and it's nighttime. You're tired. All the lights coming forward. You can't tell which shuttles are coming at you or not. You're just like, oh, is this it? No. I was so mad. Like it took about an hour. And then of course I only paid for the parking for the certain time. So now it's been 2 hours. So you got to pull out your credit card to pay a little more money. Finally got out of there. Yeah. I got home probably like 1 o'clock in the morning or something like that. It was terrible.
Yeah.
Not as bad as those.
So many flight delays and stuff too. So we were in Chicago, and then we had to fly the next day to play. We were playing the next day, so it wasn't a travel day in Minnesota. And we found out at like 2 a.m. that the flight was delayed, and we would have arrived after our set. So, that's like a whole other scramble when you realize that. And then you're like, oh my God, got to switch airlines. We're going to miss the show.
Oh, were you guys actually were able to like somehow buy tickets on another airline to make it to this gig? Wow.
Yeah, but it was like a scramble that we realized at like 2 a.m. and it's like, okay, everybody up, let's figure this out.
So are you always like, prepared for anything at this point? I mean, you have everything you need, guitar wise, you're all set up and ready to go before you even head out on this thing, just in the event that there's not going to be time to do any tweaks on things and what have you.
Definitely. Always prepared. And I'm always assuming things are not going to go right. So when they do go right, I'm just pleasantly surprised and in a great mood. So if you just like have no expectations, then I found that's best.
And you have an awesome guitar. We have to like take a minute to talk about this Jackson Randy Rhoads V. Is that?
Yes. The Randy
Tell
Rhoads.
us all about this guitar, like how you came to possess it, what went into getting this thing.
Yeah. So when I started playing guitar, I was like super into it, and I would practice nonstop and never warm up. And eventually I had a problem with carpal tunnel. And so a friend of mine was playing the Randy Rhoads Flying V. And I realized I could play that easier because one leg is longer than the other. So the way that it's weighted, the neck, instead of being just like making your wrist more like that, where's the camera? This is flipped. It's more like that. And so, there's less bend in the wrist. And so I got hooked on the Randy Rhoads V's, and it was so comfortable. And so the first Randy Rhoads I got was a tiger stripe one that was in that Vixen video that you guys just played. And that was my very first guitar. And I was really into horseback riding before I really got obsessed with guitar. And I had a horse, and I realized when I started doing gigs, the gigs were like late night, Saturday night, I'd be out till 4 a.m. And then the horse shows, I'd have to be there at like 6 a.m. on Sunday morning. And I was like, this is not working. I can't do both. This is killing me. So I ended up selling my horse and buying that tiger stripe Jackson V. So that was the first Jackson V I got. And then I was hooked. Then I got to know the guys at Jackson, and then they helped make me that crack mirror V, which I got in 2009. And yeah, it's awesome. I mean, it's got a coating over it, so you can't cut yourself on the crack mirror. It's got a switch. I just recently put in these awesome DiMarzio pickups. They're the Steve Vai DiMarzio pickups that kind of match the guitar, actually, because they're blue and silver. And that guitar, I just absolutely love it. It's my favorite guitar.
Yeah, they're both like really cool looking guitars, and they sound good too. I mean, your pickup choices on there are obviously good. I'm not familiar with the DiMarzios. I'm like, I've always used like Seymour Duncan stuff, but your tone, and I've mentioned it on the show before, you have a very sexy tone on guitar. And it was like when we played a few weeks back, I had mentioned to Chris that I thought you had the best tone of everyone that day. But it is, as I was telling a Dana Strum story before, because as you have as well played shows with Slaughter and Vince Neil and stuff. So, Dana's a wonderful guy, and he had given me a cool compliment that, my tone is in my hands. As far as the amp matters a little bit, but it's kind of there. And you have that too, Britt.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Well, as far as tone, I do feel like less is more. Like I don't really use too many pedals.
Me neither.
Like I have a boost and a delay for some solos and a wah and that's it. And then other than that, let's just go straight into the head, you know?
I have probably a little pedal board I made, and it's got about four Boss pedals on it. Oh, what are you doing? Come here.
Oh, this cat.
Charlie cat.
Oh,
Yeah, so it's just my Boss tuner. I have a delay, a chorus, and a EQ pedal I use as a boost.
nice.
And
Yeah.
that's it. Yeah, and but usually we'll have the 900s or whatever going for me, and I get a pretty ballpark tone out of that works for me, and that's all I need. I'm not ready to make the leap into using I did buy this thing, the Tone X. Have you heard of this thing?
Yeah.
I do have it, and I'm playing with it for recording it at home. I'm sorry, my cat's taking over the show here. Oh, you can't see. Okay.
But I also got to say, I like your background a whole lot.
We did that for you.
I love it.
Yeah, I did. I did a whole. I was singing earlier. I probably forgot. When you watch the show later, watch it from the beginning, and I do a whole Brit Lightning song that I switched the lyrics for the for Grease for you. So, yeah. Anyways, I told I'm high as shit. I was eating these gummies. They just kicked in. I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore. Chris, take over.
I do. Well, I just want. I gotta ask. Speaking of about the guitars and about tone and stuff. The thing that's interesting about you, Britt, is that you're not only you're known right now as rock metal, but you're not. If anybody's followed your career at all, realizes that you've done stuff way outside of that, the Jason Derulo stuff, the Rachel Platten stuff, etc. How do you adapt? I mean, it seems to me you're a rock chick, but it seems to me that would be really kind of hard to adapt to and do well. I mean, anybody could probably do, not anybody, but anybody that can play pretty much anything.
Anybody awesome can do it.
But to do it well is the different story. How do you adapt your ideas to playing in those different styles?
Well, it helps to listen to different things. And I listen to all different music. So I rarely sit at home and listen to metal and and stuff like that. I listen to a lot of jazz and all sorts of things. So, but when I do get a gig, like probably the hardest one to adapt to was Alejandro Sanz, which is like, he's a huge Spanish artist.
Right.
He's rock, but it's pop, but it's very Latin influenced and stuff. Got a flamenco feel. So, making myself listen to those artists and getting that, it's a whole different, rhythmic thing sort of. So, just getting in the vibe of that helps a lot to just listening, listening subconsciously too, like just having it on in the background constantly. And then it kind of just like sinks in and you don't even know it, but you're hearing licks and they kind of get into you, I think, in that way. But I have to say, out of all the music that I played and stuff, I definitely love rock and roll. I mean, sometimes you get on these pop gigs and you're doing like one of those morning shows or something, and they're like, okay, and you're doing line check. I'll never forget. I did a line check once in like Good Morning America, and I threw in a little fill. Me and the drummer were just having fun, goofing off because it's line check, or and the manager was like, just like the record, no fills, don't forget. And it's like, because you just want to have fun.
Cool.
Play sometimes, but
was that the first time you ever did a live TV appearance like that on the Good Morning America?
Yeah, you want to hear the scariest guitar story about that?
Sure.
Yes.
So I had gone to Gibbs to the New York showroom beforehand. They were like, "Oh, we want to give you one of these guitars to play on the show." Sure, cool. It was a beautiful denim Les Paul, but it was at that time when those, I think they were called the E-tuners or G-tuners. I think E-tuners, where the robotic tuners had come out, and that was like all the rage. And I was like, oh, so how do I work it? So I got a little lesson on it at the showroom, and obviously I didn't really get how it operated because I have that guitar and I go to play the first chord, and thank God it wasn't, because those things are live. So thank God it wasn't really the time. It was just the line check. And I play like a G chord and it goes, and it starts, the robot tuner start going and going. And it plays this awful out of tune thing. I think it tuned to some open tuning thing. And I was like, oh my God. And I couldn't stop it from tuning and I couldn't figure out how to get it back. And thank God I had my guitar as a backup, and I was like, screw this. I like threw it. I was so like,
my friend had one, and so I have seen it before. And if I recall, like there's a button that you push to kind of like make it go into tuning mode, and you have to hit it to the whatever the specific tuning, because it did like at least 5 tunings or something like that.
Yeah.
And I think you could just strum all of them at one time, or do you have to like pick one at a time?
And I must have activated the button, and then I strummed all of them because I was playing a chord, and then it was like, yeah. Those guitars were not good. Yeah, I don't know. If you can't tune your guitar, I mean, maybe you should be. I don't know.
They stopped making those. They definitely stopped making those after a while. That's scary, man. I'm glad you had your backup. Yeah. I'm like that too. I can't risk just having one guitar at these things. So like you, I'm dragging 2 guitars through the airports, and it's rough, man. It really is.
Yeah, well, when we got the Floyd Rose thing going on, you can't break a string. It's like
right.
Rude.
Nice.
We were hanging out after the last show we did together. We were kind of comparing our setups on guitar, and I was showing her how I had learned from Johnny to block it off, because I didn't always use those too. I was always like Les Pauls, and Michael Charvel had built me a really cool Telecaster that was a custom one I played for a really long time, but they didn't have tremolos on them or anything, whammy bars on them. So during the shutdowns, I was bored, and I go, and I had some money, and I go, I want to invest and start buying the old Charvels again, because they started making some good Charvels out of Mexico that weren't that expensive. They're like $900 or something. And so I got like 4 of those, and I've been using them for a couple years now. And I think I got it figured out, but there's still a pain in the ass getting them ready for these gigs. And it's not just sweating or not sweating. I mean, the climate of these places we go really affects what happens to the strings too. When I got to Puerto Rico, and I had done my diligence and was in the hotel room doing my string stretch, which for people that think it's all partying and fun and games out at these shows, if you play one of these guitars, you're in your hotel room for like 2 hours, like before sound check, even prepping to go to sound check. So I'm thinking the guitars are good and everything's solid and tight. I'm like, all right, let's go to sound check. Get down there, pull these guitars out of the bag. They immediately start sweating and just like getting soaking wet. And the tuning just went, the whole neck just, went in, and I had to like, from what I thought I had to like reset them up, but it was more that they had to acclimate. They had to sit there and acclimate. But it was like 100-something degrees out there. I'm sweating. I had to just kind of do a quick thing just to get through the sound check. And then while Quiet Riot was sound checking, I was over there trying to reset up the guitars for this place. And I finally got them good and had to leave them out there. We had to throw a towel over these things to keep them from sweating all over the place. So there's a lot of stress, like you said, that goes into it. But it is cool if you get up there, because you have a lot of, I personally, I'm sure you do too, have a lot of anxiety, going up, and then you grab your guitar and you check the tuning and it's good. You're like, fuck yeah, let's do this show, Totally. And for you, on top of it, you're one guitar player. Just for people to understand, that's even more pressure. Because what are they going to just be bass and drums if you're not going? At least like when there's a second guitarist, they could probably get through it without the crowd figuring it out too much. You could just one person could leave the stage and fix their problem, but it's all on your shoulders up there, and it's a big job, and you do it well, kid. You do it well.
Thank you.
Well, let's talk about Vixen, since that is the band that we should promote, I guess. Talk about what's going on with it. It seems like you guys are extremely busy. It seems like every other week I see here's a Vixen in St. Charles. Here you are in Idaho. Here you are.
This is her full-time job. I could tell you that.
I definitely get that, but it seems like Vixen itself, the entity of Vixen, might be busy or busier than you guys have been since the original incarnation of the band. No?
Yeah, this is definitely our busiest year. Crazy summer. We were out, the whole summer really. We're finally starting to wind down here as fall and the holidays come about. But I gotta say, Sullivan's doing a good job for us. He's keeping us working. I love him, and we're getting on great bills with guys like you, Erik and stuff. I mean, it's
Aw.
so much fun. I love playing with you and Stephen Piercy, and we've been doing a lot with Quiet Riot and Slaughter.
That's right.
And
It's going to keep happening. This is the 80s rock invasion.
Yeah. Well, and what I got to say about what I'm loving personally about all the shows that I haven't seen before so much as this year is all the young kids in the front row. Like just at Rocktember the other day. I mean, the whole front row they must have been 17, 18 years old, and decked out. They look like they came right out of 1983, and they're just like rocking out. And I love seeing the young kids getting into it. But I guess, we're kind of like everything's cyclical and stuff. And now the 80s rock is kind of getting into be like the classic rock, which is like getting cool again. And so it's awesome. I'm loving seeing the energy of the young kids out there in the crowds. And then other than that, we've got a new single finally coming out with a new music video, October 2nd.
Very cool.
And we'll be following that up with some more new music. So we're very excited about that. I think Vixen fans will like it. I think it's still Vixen with like, the harmonies and the big chorus and stuff, but it's also modern sounding too. So I think it's a good mix.
The hardest thing is always, at least in my opinion, for a band like Vixen to continue with a different singer. And obviously Lorraine's great, but Janet is still actively out there as well, which makes it very tough. And automatically, before people hear a note of what you guys are doing, they start with, well, why isn't she in the band? They start there. For you, is that a difficulty? And what kind of pushback do you guys get? Not really from fans only, but even like promoters and industry people, and to get what you're doing to be accepted versus people always leaning back toward 1988 or whatever.
Well, it was Janet's choice to leave and start a new project with her husband and stuff like that. So it was amicable. So it was all good.
Sure.
There was no bad blood. So that's the good news. And then when Lorraine stepped in, she's totally different than Janet. Their voices don't sound that similar. She hits all the notes, of course, and everything, but she's got a different tonality, and she's got a completely different stage energy. I liken her to like David Lee Roth. She's our David Lee Roth. She runs around like crazy. During that Wacken festival, she jumped in the crowd. She's crowd surfing. I mean, she's nuts. She's all over the place. So I feel like it's almost like a different show, almost. It feels like a different band, and it is a different band, and we've got Julia on bass now. So, but I think no matter what, fans can say whatever they want about lineup history, blah, 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 but it's a great show. When they come to the show, they always leave saying, well, I wasn't sure what I was going to get, but that was awesome. I had a great time. I would see you guys again, so I think that's the most important thing, to just deliver a kick-ass rock show.
Sure.
You girls have the quintessential late 80s sound. You like it really, you do capture it well, and the image is really cohesive right now in the band, where like it's there's a kind of magic there. And I watched the show a few weeks back, and I watched the crowd's reaction, and they were excited at what they're seeing. And Lorraine does have a ton of energy. I was really talking you guys up. I was like, man, she's just going on 10 the whole time. I like her moon boots. She wears up their white boots. Those are cool. I don't know. You girls just look badass. You had brought a keyboardist in.
Yes.
Now, is the keyboardist always with you, or is it just for that gig?
Yeah. So you know what? Vixen has always had a keyboard player. Most of the time in their heyday, the keyboard player was hidden, but they always had a male keyboard player to kind of just also help out on the road. So that's why we make him do the dirty work.
He's the pianist, the pianist.
Yeah, you got to have one of those.
At least one pianist.
But no, it's always good to just also have a guy out with you on the road. He carries things. We give him lots of shit, but he's great.
Yeah, carry this for me, bro. My arm. I gotta.
Yeah, I'm just weak, and we make him handle the birds. Yeah, I'm just a girl. Can you open the door? Can you clear my pedals? I don't know how to plug these in. Can you do it?
Great. Well, he sounded great at this thing. It was like I was saying, it just had that oh, the sound. You guys have these like cool, hits that Richard Marx helped write and stuff. It just sounds awesome, and your guitar tone. Everybody gets a show, and with Vixen, and there's certainly no disappointments. You really raised the bar for the rest of us that got to go on after you. But for anybody who gets a chance to see our shows together, you're going to be stoked on this lineup of Vixen. And you're going to see Quiet Riot, Slaughter, Great White. This 80s invasion is growing, and I Jason mentioned something to me that they're like working on something for next year that it gave me goosebumps. I'm not going to go too much into it, but I think it has all of us involved, and it's I don't know, man. If it happens, it's going to be the most awesome thing ever. So stay tuned for that.
Right. Well, Britt, let me ask you this, for you stepping in, and I don't even like to say stepping in because you've been there a while now. You've been there, what, 10 years, almost 10 years, right?
I joined in 2017.
So, coming up on it.
Our math isn't very good.
Yeah, we're two monkeys with a
not good with the maths.
But how much time did you spend learning? I'll just tell you, I haven't seen you guys live, but I watched the Wacken show, and I've watched tons of videos. It doesn't seem like you took it upon yourself to mimic Jan's work. It seems like you throw the elements in there when they're needed. Certain solos you certainly have learned note perfect. Seems like you're doing your own thing that just kind of fits. How much time did you spend learning Jan stuff versus making the songs your own as you've gone forward?
Well, from my experience, I mean, I'm never going to be Jan. I'm never going to sound exactly like her.
Sure.
And I'm never going to sound exactly like anybody. I'm only going to sound like me because it is what it is. So, I definitely took the time to listen and watch videos and see her energy and her vibe and listen to the way she plays and how she plays the chords and like with what kind of energy. People have different energy, even if it's the same notes, So I did try to study that a bit. And then at the end of the day, just jamming with the band, also just being me and just being like, well, this is how I do it. Like, I know the notes, I know what I'm supposed to sound like, but this is like with my flavor. And so sometimes in the solos, like I know the key licks and the key elements, but I'll noodle around those and add or subtract my own things with it. So,
right on.
And that just makes it, I think, better because then you're comfortable and you're just, but then I have to say, Erik, you nailed everything note for note for note. I mean, I'm always.
That's sweet of you to say.
Yeah.
It's tough to come in with any kind of you're going into a band that had a virtuoso guitar player, and I certainly wasn't one of those. And I was a '90s guy, but we didn't do too much of that. You know what I mean? So I kind of had to learn on my feet in Steven's band, and I used to have to change things to make it more comfortable for me in the beginning. And honestly, like I've been in the band over 20 years. It took like probably 10 years before I could even kind of get close to nailing what he did. And we added Rat songs as the years went on, and right now we're doing a lot of Rat songs. Some of the stuff's really gnarly, and Johnny's been taking over some of the leads. We added some songs, Morning After and Nobody Rides for Free and stuff like that, so he's actually kind of taken over there. But thank you for noticing my efforts. It's fun doing guitar solos. It used to scare the shit out of me, but now that I've been doing it long enough, I love it. I wouldn't change it.
Do you put your own spin on it too? I'm curious. Like, do you feel that you do? Sometimes,
totally.
I feel like I do, but maybe the audience doesn't know because
right.
It sounds like it. But
sure, I do throw in little licks here and there, like you do. You know what I mean? Just to put my little spin on it.
Yeah.
If it's a key solo that had a memorable melodic thing, I'll do it the best I can to that ability. But some leads that Warren did that were kind of a mishmash of stuff, I might change it up a little bit, and nobody complains about it.
Yeah.
And I'm in the moment too. We got our whammy bars. I like to accentuate stuff and, go do a little Eddie Van Halen on some of this. I love to do the picks. I don't think Warren ever did pick slides, but I do pick slides all over the place. I love that shit. And you girls do some cool stuff too. You do little montages of some pretty badass rock songs of the day. And Roxy, I was giving compliments too, because she is just a bombastic drummer to play with, which makes it a lot easier. Am I right?
Oh yeah, I think a band is only as good as the drummer. It's like if you don't have a solid drummer, you have no solid foundation to be great off of. So yeah, she's killer. She hits hard.
She makes it easy to play, and